Hey, how's it going?
Good. Good to see you.
You as well. I like the shirt.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Try to dress up a little because I have a lot of coaching sessions today. I want it to
Oh
look
yeah.
put together.
Wonderful. Exciting. Is this is part of the new probably the coaching clients that you got from this last round of outreach or last campaign that you did, right?
No, actually, this is part of an ongoing client that I have a coaching school called U Ventures West, and
Okay.
I've been working with them for 13 years or so. And so
Oh wow.
last year was off. I didn't have that client, but this year I'm back. And so certain weeks of the year, it's a year-long commitment, but it's not, it's very beneficial because only certain weeks of the year, 5 to be exact, I have, full agenda of coaching. And then just a couple of trips I have to do to the US. And then, that gives me the monthly needs for my expenses. So it's really nice.
Oh yeah, that is nice. And it's probably a higher um price point too, because it's US and US clientele then, or Northern American
Yeah,
clientele.
but I mean, it's not like huge money. I get 1,500 per month for that work that I just told you.
Mm-hmm.
And but 1,500 is what I need to live. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I sure love that about Colombia. Like when I'm there, I'm like, wow, I feel like I could live like a king here, just because everything is priced so perfect for me. Uh, it sounds um, like you have some time for this next campaign. Have you been dedicating a little bit of time each week to it, or how are you going
yeah.
about preparing for it?
Yeah, so I subdivided into two campaigns because I realized that um I need to have a 2-day workshop before I expected. So I'm going to launch a smaller campaign to fill 10 spots for May 11 and 12. And then I'm going to do the launch of the tarot deck of the putting out that new product, the tarot.
Okay.
And that is more, it's more reasonable because sometimes if you think of campaigns for too much time, like the one campaign that's too long, it's just not, it becomes amorphous.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm realizing like there's certain rhythms and so now as we're delivering the previous campaign's experience, which is the advanced course, that whole how do you call the grid of the content grid, is that how you call it?
Uh, you can call it a grid. Uh, the content, yeah, it's a grid.
Make
Um, but yeah, your
the
content
content make
matrix. There we go. You got the word before I got the word.
Yeah, so the content matrix it is supporting the current students going through that journey, but at the same time it's feeding into the campaign of May for the 2-day workshop.
Mm,
So that seems more aligned, and I'm realizing that for marketing, I just need to feel very aligned and very like that there's traction. And for me, I don't want to feel like brushed. It's really
mhm.
important. So,
Yeah.
and I have a team member who's really smart, and she's like a little bit like, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like she's really intense, and it's a good problem to have. Um, but I'm also like breathing and seeing, okay, how do I handle this? And I'm also like responding to her. So she's
Mhm.
like, what are our KPIs? But what's the strategy? But what are we really trying to accomplish? What are the numbers? So I'm like, okay, let's get
It's
together a strategic plan. And so I just created a new chat, and brought in some people to do a strategic plan. And but like, yeah,
That's great. And if she's really gun ho about that, I think you could probably put her in because there's plenty of work to be done in going back through the content that you've had before, right? And making sure, because that often gets overlooked because you're in the whirlwind of building campaigns. You're looking forward in the future, but you rarely look back and look at all the content that you've already created and looking through how you can optimize that and reuse it for the future. And so that may be a good place for her. Like if you can figure out
yes.
a good workflow for her is like, okay, we just did all of this last campaign. What's next is like, we need to make sure that we're doing the kind of the back end work of like, how do we optimize and utilize this content? What performed really well? Uh, what could be used again or tweaked a little bit, and then helping us to create a lot of the hum content that's in the future, right? And so that type of work, and also setting up those systems. Maybe she's interested in doing that, setting up those systems where you're tracking um, the performance of those past campaigns and past content, because that to me takes up so much time, especially early on, because you don't have the the ability and the resources to pay for some of the more automated services that will do that for you. So you usually have like, I'm usually early on having to do it myself, or I just don't get to it, or I hire a virtual assistant to do it,
Mhm.
until I can pay for a software that automatically does it, right? And then what happens is usually someone that has been doing like the VA work, or is just an early hire that has been doing that work, they can get more once they get freed up by like a software that's tracking a lot of that stuff. They
Mhm.
can get freed up to actually do more of like the what we can do next with this content, right? And giving you uh, better usable information for you to create your next campaigns. Because really, what you should be doing is, in a lot of ways, is when you're moving from one campaign to another, you should be just kind of taking what worked on the last campaign,
Mhm.
getting all the pieces, even content that's still going to be useful for the next campaign,
Mhm.
set up, and it decreases the amount of work that you have to do, but it also makes it so that your campaign does just a little bit better each time because you utilized those pieces. But a lot of times we get so caught up in the next campaign that almost we throw away everything that we did with the last campaign in order to start
Yeah.
the new one, right? I'm not
That's
sure
a
if
really good.
that's
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's something my instinct was very aligned with what you're saying. And not just the just immediate previous campaign, but also content that I had from before, like interviews that I did with the students from last year
mm-hmm,
that I hadn't
mm-hmm.
used. So I was like, let's use that. Let's have her work on that. And
Yes.
and so, but to be honest, like managing this team and having the team work has been a lot of my attention and energy. And so I've been neglecting my own matrix because I have two matrices, right? I have the school matrix, and then I have my own social media matrix.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
um, I'm still in the point where I'm neglecting something. So
I feel
neglecting.
you. I totally feel you.
Yeah. But she's stepping in, and she's sometimes publishing same content for the two Instagrams simultaneously so that my personal matrix doesn't like fall on the wayside. And there's more people following me than the school, so it's irrelevant that it doesn't, right now I have 1,000 people. It's a new thing. I have 1,000 people, and that's really good, on Instagram and LinkedIn. There's more, but yeah. So I just want to say that managing the team takes something. It takes something.
Mm-hmm.
to have all the team members well satisfied, and with work that is meaningful. So I think that's part of my journey in this moment, and I find that the campaigns are very motivating, very motivating.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, and not put a campaign goal too far, but shorter. So it's like 3 months or 2 months, and
Mm.
then next, and then next, right? So that's part of the learning. And I was reading the launch book that you had me read,
Uh-huh.
and very, very helpful, um, to conceive the big campaign that's going to happen actually in July 6th. July 6th is going to be the event, launching the tarot, not June, but July 6th. And um, I want to use that sequence of the launch sequence to conceive that campaign, like the meat and potatoes of that campaign. I want that sequence to guide me, and then from there I do all the rest of the content. But thinking from those last 2 weeks of the campaign, using the sequence, and then reverse engineering into how do we start this is helpful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's especially launching something, doing a launch campaign, I think is probably, it's definitely more motivating than like an always on campaign, or some of those other, it gets you, there's urgency for it, not only for your prospects and client and potential clients and your audience, but also for you and your business and your team. It's very motivating in
Yeah.
that way, because there's the
Yeah.
urgency around it. Like, we have something coming up, it gets people focused in on getting
Yeah.
work
Okay.
done to, and
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't been doing it for a really long time because I've been in build mode for the business for a while. And I use that launch sequence. I started using that launch sequence with a lighting company that I was an in-house director for a little while. And they were always doing these kind of weird, promotions for different holidays and whatnot. Right. But they didn't necessarily have a good like launch of like something new and fresh. It was always just like the same stuff. And so they were just in this, and I noticed the team turned into like a different team once they realized, like, oh yes, we have a campaign that we're working towards, and it was a focal point, and it actually created better content, because it wasn't just like, okay, we're doing our normal uh New Year's thing, our normal holiday thing, our normal Thanksgiving thing or whatever, right? It was like, no,
Mhm.
we created this campaign. It's very intentional, and the content was much more, um, yeah, it was very very quality driven. There was a lot of like, it got us away from being really stagnant. And I'm wondering if that's something that you've noticed as well, just kind of thinking in terms of the Hum Sing and Shout, but also just even this new like launch campaign that I'm introducing to you. Um, it, it it's
Mhm.
it's not just you get your brand, and that needs to be really strong and understood. But then when you have stuff that you're building for, campaign wise, it makes it really um, hyper focused, and it directs you towards something. It anchors you to something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And there's also another component that I discovered, and it's that the people who are journeying with you already, their clients, you also kind of need to motivate them. And so that other additional orientation to marketing has been fulfilling, because it's not just catering to people who don't know me, but it's also people who actually registered, but we need to nurture them, and
Mm-hmm.
and and we need to aside from the course, of course, the course itself is nurturing, but there's something about enhancing their experience through what we're doing in social media that has been satisfying, because we've been doing lives and then putting the lives in the course chat. We've been sharing experiences from students, current and previous, and putting them on the chat, and so that feels wholesome as well,
Yeah.
because it's not just
Mm-hmm.
like more people, but no, like we have people here. And last year we had some people who didn't finish, some,
Mm-hmm.
how do you call those in Spanish? Is deserción. Deserción is when they leave without finishing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a specific word for it. Dropouts. uh,
Dropouts. Yeah, dropouts.
uh-huh.
Exactly. And so this year we were like, no, we can't have this level of dropouts. I mean, there's some natural level of dropouts, but then we can prevent some of those we can prevent.
Mm-hmm.
And so this also orientation of sharing content to wrap people more into the experience, into the world of life revision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's also been great, and not overextend ourselves into new territory before fully, um yeah, I don't know, like grounding into what's happening now. Like what's happening now, we're delivering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But also when we're delivering, it makes sense to launch this course that is very similar, but it's a 2-day. And then when that's done, then we can launch into new territory and have a little bit more time um, to think about that new campaign, which is more challenging because I've never launched a tarot before. And so I'm requesting the help from some advisors, um,
Mm-hmm.
to think about this. I'm going to hire a photographer for the product itself. I'm hiring a designer to audit every one of the cards and to finalize like the graphics of it. Yeah, so it's a little scarier, that launch. And there's like a whole component of the event, the live in-person event that's going to happen on July 6th. There's a whole component there that I'm excited about. And but it takes something, right, to think about. This is going to be very theatrical. I would love for you to come if you want to come to Colombia. It's going to be very theatrical and like in an art gallery, and you just like very artistic. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Is it going to be in Bogota or
Yeah, Bogota.
okay. In the art district or in
My dad's gallery is close to the art district. Yeah.
okay. Because that area of Bogota is just gorgeous. Like it's just fun to walk around that area, utilize some of the that past content, or maybe
Yeah.
stage some new content for people if they are unfamiliar with the area, right? And they're visiting for the first time, because that's part of the transformation that you're trying to give to them, right? Um, and so maybe coming in, if you have the product, um, maybe doing like a demo day, or like a with your kind of local group, do like a soft launch, like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just people, like maybe you have like a party of like 15 people or so, or whatever, how many
Yeah.
people you want, and then do some content around that, right?
A
Um,
rehearsal, actually, a rehearsal,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's these people that you're mentioning, these 15 people, we need to have them, perform in a certain way that night. And so
Hmm.
maybe we do like a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, and then you can get some content for that and do it early enough too, that allows for some content that you can create in helping them to get to the event, right? So here's where you can stay. Here's the beautiful town that we're in, and the area, places that you can visit when you're out and about, um, um, and places that you can stay. And then also here's the events and how it's going to and where it's at, and so they can get some good understanding. And that could be right, those last 2 weeks of the campaign, a lot of that could be um, set up to kind of do that. But if you have even a little bit, um, so I'm guessing you'd probably want to do it like maybe 4 weeks before the launch or something, so you have that content ready. I'm not you would probably have a better idea of when and how long it would take for you to get um, that type of content ready for the campaign. Um, but do it just enough time for you to be able to get them. That's one thing that I've noticed with good launches and launches that have just been okay. Like this one that I'm doing right now, there's not a lot of risk in it because it's a small product and it's just something that I didn't have to put a lot of time into, and it's a partnership. Though I want our partnership to really succeed with Evolute 6, I didn't have a lot of time beforehand to like get it up, right? I just needed to get it going. But because I didn't, I'm a little rushed. I'm really only talking to my main core people. I don't have a big enough. I'm not. I don't have the campaign and content enough content built out enough to really get a strong um, campaign that looks omnipresent. Have you ever heard that word before? Omnipresent.
No,
Um,
not in the context of marketing. In the context of God being omnipresent.
yes, yes. Well, kind of the same. Like God is omnipresent and all around us, and we can see God in everything, right?
Yeah.
There's that when you can make a campaign omnipresent, or your brand for that matter omnipresent. It looks and feels cohesive all around you, and you find it in everything that you're doing, right? And that, I mean, comes down to maybe right amount of money to do retargeting ads if you want to do retargeting ads, but also just knowing and being where your audience is, and having the right content to make sure, and also just the stickiness factor. When you do content that's well thought out, it reminds them in their daily lives when they run into other things, right? So like if you're talking about the Revision Academy or book, or and you have just those sticky pieces of your content and your story that they often throughout like their life, I kind of call it like their zone zero, or if you're looking at permaculture, zone 0 and zone 1, where they're always hanging out in their home and whatnot. You refer back to things that they're always doing that remind them of your book, your tarot cards, your like or an event coming up, right? And so you reassociate, maybe doing the dishes, because everybody has to do the dishes every day, with a thought that is associated to your event coming up, and that just takes, sometimes it's really easy to come up with those things, but it takes space, and like you said, like the ability to kind of flow, and from the campaign of like having enough time to think about it, and before you really start building for it, right? To know what, like I'm launching on April Fools, and I thought it'd be really fun to launch on April Fools and be like, no, we're really not joking about regenerative business. Everybody else is joking today, but really we want to, and
That's great.
and I thought about that, but then I feel like I haven't had enough time to think about it to really create content for it. And so I feel like it's not going to really come out the way that I want to, because of the timing of being able to think about how I want to word it, how I want to create for it, right? And some of that stuff, just being able to have some breathing room to do that in between campaigns is very much needed, just for the fact of like, for you to be creative and to create those
Yes.
stickiness factors. You can't just be the entire
Can't be
time.
pressured. No.
Yeah.
Rhythm.
Yep.
Creativity needs its rhythms. And this is what I was trying to tell this woman maybe on a different intensity level. And it's that, no, we need to respect the rhythms of creativity. And so now I'm feeling like, okay, I can relax. Even if there's a campaign for May, I'm pretty sure we're gonna feel that. And so now I can be like, okay, well, that stickiness, I really want to create that stickiness for the tarot. And I love what you said about how do I relate it to the everyday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For
And it
instance,
has to be, it still has to be relatable. It can't be so off context that um from what you the service or the product that you're offering, it can't be so off context. So like if I'm talking about um there's one that I brought up the dishes because it always reminds me of a book um on meditation. I'm forgetting the name of the book, which that's a part, another part of the stickiness is like making sure that they associate it with specifically your brand and not just like they can't remember what the brand is, right? But every time I do the dishes, there's a book that talks about meditation in all areas of your life, right? And just being able to do it while you're doing the dishes or you're going to the restroom or, just like being able to step into a moment of presence in all areas, right? And it always reminds me of that book. And then there's other areas in my life where I've been introduced to, and you probably can find these in your own and reverse engineer them in your thought process as well, as like maybe how could I do that for my so think of
yeah.
something that's maybe been sticky in your mind or just when you're going about doing your daily stuff and it reminds you of something that you've a product or service that you've been taken part in, or someone that's has a strong message behind what they're doing, right? And it's been impactful to you.
Mhm.
Why when you do that certain thing, does it always bring up that certain person or that certain brand or product or moment in your head, and
Mhm.
then reverse engineer that for your own products, or try to put your own products and services and your own brand into that place as well.
Mhm.
And that to me, that's the creative flow of a campaign, is just
Mhm.
like being able to, well, you have to plan it out and get the pieces on, but the storytelling part of it is like, you're building towards this transformation. You're
Yeah.
thinking about how they're utilizing it in their lives, and then you're looking at your own life and like all the different pieces, and you're trying to express the empathy of like putting yourself in their shoes. What are the things that they're constantly doing, and um where can you put those things that they're habitually doing in their lives? Where can you put the context into their lives of what you're offering and the
Mhm.
transformation, your brand, those types of things, right? And if you
Mhm.
can reverse engineer it that way, I think it's a really impactful. That's a lot of times it doesn't come by force. It more just comes by like just always having a consciousness about that, right? And then thinking about it, and all of a sudden you'll it's not it won't be all of a sudden because you'll be thinking about it, but it'll be sudden in the sense that something will come to light, or just by pondering on it more often. And really, it's like a form of meditation, really, of the transformation and trying to manifest that transformation into their lives, right? Is that you're thinking about your ideal client, you're thinking about their lives, you're thinking about what they're doing, and then you realize they're doing this all the time in this certain area, and then you have a message that you could share that brings and then brings context. So the next time they do the dishes, or the next time they're out shopping for a certain thing, or they're talking to their child, or those types of
Yeah.
um, the associations can then be referenced back to a product, a service, a brand, a transformation that you're creating for them.
Beautiful. I love that. It's so, this is part of what I love about your methodology. That there's so much empathy there. And I remember the empathy statements was a big aha for me. Because it's really feeling your client, your ideal client. What do they need? What are they yearning for? And connecting from the heart. and then your products and your offerings come from there, from that
Mm-hmm.
empathy
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
And the tarot can be very much connected to their day. You know, what is that? What how is my ideal client's day connected to the tarot? That's a beautiful question. And the marketing being sourced from that place, as well as that transformation journey, that transformation story. um, and so I'm trying to put together a set of documents and even printing them out, that show all of these components from where marketing emerges. You know, I'm getting the chills because that's where it's to come from. It
Mm-hmm.
comes from that aspiration, that empathy, that understanding, that vision. And so, and the I did that already for my first set of videos. I did a set of 9 videos for my previous campaign, and I thought that it was strong because I was like, okay, what is that transformation journey? And I read it. What is the larger brand story? I read it. And then I did some building blocks before I created the content, so I was very attuned to that, where it's sourcing,
Mm-hmm.
the content
Mm-hmm.
is sourced from. And it was so intense and so deep that I'm a little intimidated about it, but I just need to get into a rhythm. Like, let's do it again. Like, let's spend that morning connecting to those pieces, to those building blocks, and then let's create the scripts of the videos. And then another day I record the scripts of the videos. So
Mm-hmm.
I already did it once, and I just need to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, um, I really enjoyed the the pre-content that you did for the last campaign. And that was most of what I actually got to, because there was so much of it that I actually didn't get into some of the other things that I was like just enjoying going through the early content before diving into like the each day, right? Um, I think you did a really good job of introducing some of the concepts beforehand before people started diving into um, what they were gonna, what the actual learning pieces and what the other educators were bringing to it, that it felt very cohesive, right? And it did seem very intentional, and that's really what you want um, in regards of, and I think you're in the right place. And you're getting. I feel like you're going to get better each and every campaign that you do, to the
Mhm.
point that you're going to start seeing, especially your launches, doing really, really good at, just based on the fact that you're getting a strong core following, and that's what really branding's all about.
Mhm.
That really resonates, and then feels so strongly that it helps carry and bring in more people. So I think a huge part of it, and I'm not sure how you've worked this in yet, is um, starting to build that really core following that you have, utilizing them more often, right? Through whether it's an affiliate marketing scenarios, or just really um, getting the right content from them. Um, and for me, you've been doing this for way longer than I have for your own personal brand, and for um, uh, so it's harder in the beginning, but you're probably starting to sense that you could start utilizing these your brand advocacy a little bit more, because your message is strong. You're have a really core following, and use that core following to pretty much um, create your campaign for you, essentially, right? Um, and and on the sense of like, you probably have some core followers, and you've built out a group of educators that you have worked with. Like, that should be more part of your campaigns, I think, is like utilizing your collaborative network more um, in that
Yeah.
process, and leaning more on that rather than leaning on, and and he talks about it well too in the product launch formula, about really there's actually a specific campaign. Have you gotten to that part in the book where he talks about collaborative like it's basically collaborative marketing.
Yeah,
Um,
joint venture launches. Yeah.
Joint venture launches. Yeah. I think
Mhm.
that's probably the stronger campaigns for you, because that's more about utilizing your current brand advocacy and brand awareness to build the campaign, rather than trying to go search for new people. You're already utilizing the people that are closest to you at the highest level, right?
Mhm.
And so I potentially see that building more momentum in your campaigns. And some people just don't even think about it. They always think that they have to go after new people, right? They don't think that if they really focus in on the campaign is about their core people, and then building from there, like how do people invite, what's the dynamic of them inviting people into it? Because when they get invited, they feel like it's an exclusive thing for them, right? And how do you make that's built in to each built into each campaign, right? To
Mhm.
where you're not even telling people about it. Other people are um, telling about the campaign that's coming up,
Mhm.
and it could be just a one used, one. I don't like the word user. One client, one member, one student, um, referring and bringing in another student with them, or it can be someone that has more association to 10, 15 people that's bringing in, so bringing in people, or it's another organization that you've worked really closely with that's now bringing in hundreds of people into it, right? um, and
Yeah.
that build out is another way to look at your campaign and make sure you're being intentional about uh, how making it really easy for your core following to do the marketing for you, right? To do the campaign for you, essentially.
Yeah, we tried something that seems to have a lot of potential, but didn't quite take off. But we want to see how to improve it, and it's a system of how do you say it in English? When you have a code, a discount code, but or when you buy, like if you buy, for example, if I want to give you for your birthday, I want to give you a massage,
Oh,
and so I buy you a ticket for the massage, and I give the ticket to you. So it's like,
uh-huh.
we call that in Spanish is
Uh,
bon.
gi- Gifting or BOGO, buy one, give one. So you buy one for yourself and then you give one to another. So that give one could be maybe a discounted
No,
price for
I got
that.
the word. No, I got the word. It's a gift certificate. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's the
Uh-huh.
gift certificate. So we created gift certificates of discount certificates, like in a way,
Mhm.
of a good amount. Let's say it's like $100, equivalent of the this discount certificate. And so we said to all our previous students, hey guys, we have these gift certificates for you to give to somebody in your life as an incentive for them to take the workshop.
Mhm.
And this was very smart for multiple reasons. One is that whenever somebody comes to our workshops that is referred by somebody else, they have a stronger sense of, oh, I need to finish because
Uh-huh. Accountability.
I have this accountability. Like, what am I going to tell my friend? Oh, I dropped out. No. So that's one benefit, and the other one is yeah, getting a discount. So that is a type of affiliate marketing. It's a type, um,
Mhm.
and it's a win-win on all sides. But we need to have a meeting with people who are interested in that program to explain how it works, and also provide some um, like perks, like let's have a content day on this, like let's have a day on this, and then they
Mm.
come and they re-engaged with our methodology, and they're excited to have other people partake. So anyway, I mean, that's just an example of what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. And so I love the example, and I think there's a lot of great ways that you can do that on the decision side of the story, on the last act, essentially. When you do like when they're ready to make a when they're ready to make a purchase for that person that's going to refer um, someone, they usually will say, "Oh, I'm going to give you a discount. Come join me." And but a lot of people forget. So that's like there's the promotion of purchase, which is usually on the decision side. Like they've already kind of made a a a an understanding of who you are in the consideration. They've already been aware of what you're doing, right? So they've already been aware, they've already considered your offering, who you are, and that this is, and now they just need, a friend that's able to say, hey, no, I got this discount, and you said you were interested in what I was telling you about, this person that I introduced you to, right? Come along with me to Anamaria's Taro event in Bogota, right? I got this discount. That's decision, right? But you have so much content that is often not thought of for that type of affiliate campaign that's like in the consideration phase, in the awareness phase of like, how do they get introduced to you without any incentive? And it can't really be with incentive that you
No, no,
you
that's
in,
yeah, you're right. That's another
uh-huh.
stage. Mhm.
But you can do incentive. It's got to be more internal incentive, especially in awareness and consideration phase of the story, right? When they're learning about their challenges, or so in a lot of ways, I've seen this done really well with people that are affiliates, when they recognize and are taught to recognize, like your brand advocates, if you can teach them to identify a problem that that someone is having, that's a friend, or so you can set a trigger for them, and it's kind of like what we just talked about of making sure that whenever they see a certain problem arising, that they can suggest a solution, a book, or like make it really easy for someone to say, whenever someone's going through this, hey, make sure that you show them about this, right? So you try to create good awareness content for your brand advocate to reshare, right? For the because in the beginning it's a want, a desire. The hero wants something, they have a desire, and they have challenges. That's all of what act one is in your brand story, right?
Yeah.
um
Yeah, thank you. That's a great idea because that association of if you're in this moment, you got to do this. Like, I think the moment is, oh, you're in a transition, you have to do life revision. I think
uh-huh.
that's the key. Oh, you're in a transition, you you go do this,
And so
right?
it's not, and it's got to be more subtle than like, oh, you should really go do this program, or you should look into this program. It's more like a piece, uh, a piece that helps solve the challenge that they have, like maybe it's something in your revision book, a exercise in your book, that have them do. So you have their friend do, right? So like in your and you actually see this done in books that are specifically designed to build like loyal brand following, brand advocacy for bigger products that they have later on as well, where they say, hey, make sure you try this out for yourself, but then get 5 other people to do this with you, this exercise in this book, right? And then every time someone does this exercise, or gets every time someone sees this challenge that someone's trying to work through, and they say, oh, if you do this exercise that I learned in this book, right, um, it really helps you to get through this challenge that you're doing. And so they refer that challenge, they refer that exercise several times over. And what it is it's that entry point, right, to your book, to your initial service, to your name, to your brand. And that is something to where that's awareness phase content for someone that's just letting the brand do letting the brand advocates do the work for you, is making sure that you have those kind of triggers set up within your content that make it really sticky for other people to share it with others and get them involved. And then do that for your consideration content too. What is your plan that you have for them for transformation? And
Mm-hmm.
if you make it really easy for them to share the plan, I learned about, and in a lot of ways, it's like we talked about it we talk about it in the course, creating a name for your plan, right? For ours in the course, this course, StorySeed, it's the harmonic storytelling method, right? I don't know if you've ever
Yeah.
shared that with anybody. I might not be doing a good enough job of making it sticky to share why that's important. Just to say, I learned this, marketing can be done in a very regenerative way for regenerative enterprise. I learned this harmonic storytelling method. It has 6 steps to it, right? And you could just share that with someone. But if you make it sticky, or make it easy to share
Yeah.
that's consideration content, then it's more of a it's not incentivized for them to share it. It's more I learned this method. It's helped me, and I'm sharing it because I've had a transformation. Then you can give them the incentive at the end, and it makes your incentive go so much further and it makes it convert at a higher rate when you
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of that stickiness up front. Is that making sense?
Totally. It's totally making sense. Yeah. And it's very organic, how that
Mm-hmm.
whole thing happens, and thinking about how we need to educate our affiliates and our students and how to enroll new people. That's the sequence. It's like, here, try this exercise, or try this thing, and then the next thing, and then, oh, if you're interested, here's the gift certificate. But it's like a sequence. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not like
Mm-hmm.
cold, here's the certificate. No, it's not like
Yeah.
that.
And we've talked about that. Like, you're not going and saying, let's go on a date. Like the first time you talk to someone, right? You're saying, you're getting to know each other. So what do you do? What do you like to do? Those types of things. You don't just immediately ask to marry them, right? In a lot of ways, we do that even in all the things that we do. And so we just got to kind of step back, because we naturally do that for our own marketing. But then when we're asking someone to help market ourselves, we do the same thing again. We always
Yeah.
give them the last thing, like, oh, tell someone to marry me through you, you know. So
Yeah.
because we get excited, we get ahead of ourselves. We think that we don't they can go from 0 to 100 just by someone's referral. But in a lot of ways, they need to go through that same process. But they're at a different. They go through it a lot quicker, right, than they would if they were just some Joe Smo off the side of the street learning about you, who may or may not be interested in your stuff, right? That's much harder sell than a friend kind of taking them through that process. Um, and so you just got to be aware of that, right?
Yeah, totally.